All right, so we're going to give it a couple of seconds for the internet to catch up to Restream, and welcome everyone to episode 9 of the Level Up Your Wealth podcast, proudly sponsored by the gamers at Tones Financial. You can click the link at the bottom or type the link in bit.ly/level up your wealth. Go to the Tones Financial website, tons of great information there, ebooks, all the past episodes, more great stuff coming soon, demo for an amazing business simulation. And you can also book a no-cost consultation with one of our other co-hosts, Mario. Mario, please introduce yourself.
What's going on, y'all? Hope all is well. I'm in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia, here for Invest Fest. So just happy, very, very happy. And one other reason why I'm happy, I'm gonna share my screen. Whoa! My book released this week, and it is number one, baby. Number one, like Puffy, take that, take that. Amazon hot new release. So now your boy is officially a best-selling author. So just very, very happy. Just very, very happy, man. So good to be alive. I'm in the Best Fest. We got Mr. NFT with us as well to kind of let us know from a gaming standpoint how crypto and NFTs is going to change the world. So Mr. Israel Wilson and all your followers, introduce yourself.
Man, I don't know how I'm gonna match that energy, man. But yeah, my name's Israel Wilson. Day to day, I'm a business development professional. Day to day, I reduce opacity around culture and technology within companies, challenge assumptions around business models, hopefully allowing businesses to expand what they're doing significantly through the use of technology and culture. And then I create strategic partnerships. Uh, been in crypto since before it was called crypto. So now 15 years, coming up on the 15th anniversary of the first when I first read the Bitcoin white paper this November. And day to day, I work with all types of companies. Now AI has been a hot thing. I started doing data science about 7 years ago and became an AI artist about 5 years ago. And it seems like at continually the things that I get into early, my early interest, become bigger and bigger things over time. So, but my real focus is being a rainmaker. I like to make kings and queens, like to make people that think they got everything right really analyze what the possibilities could be if they had other minds around their thing.
That's dope. So
So
you're
I'm gonna
you're
be the Joker since you're the king and queen maker. I'm gonna be the Joker with this question. Why are individuals like so scared and so fearful with crypto? Like, I have a practice. I'm blessed to help a lot of people, and even like the BITO, which is a Bitcoin ETF tied to Bitcoin futures, or even a blockchain ETF. People are so weary of that. Like, let us know why people are weary and what can we do to kind of open our eyes towards crypto, because I think it's the future.
That's great. The thing is that there's a lot of misinformation running around out there. A lot of people have been miseducated. And if we look at some of the writing around mastery, 10,000, it takes about 10,000 hours to be a master. So that's, if it's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 3.42 years.
Mm.
Then you take out making somebody be able to make another master, which is a grandmaster, that's another 3.42 years. And then somebody that can make a grandmaster, so you got to have about 11 years of experience to be able to break things down in a simple way that gives people an understanding, be able to combat those arguments. There's going to be arguments around anything. If you tell somebody to invest in wood, in real estate, even that, but lots of people have a ton of information around real estate to be able to combat those. And there's a lot of proof out there of those success stories. And but people are talking, most of the people that are talking about crypto don't know enough to educate people. And there's so much negative news out there, and people have believed. I remember when Mount Gox dropped, and I lost all my crypto, and I was telling people that to get in because Bitcoin was about $230 at the time, around 210, $230. And I was telling everybody, hey, look, this is the time. We didn't go back to zero. Do you know what this means? Because I was there when it was zero. And these people, and nobody in my family understood, it caused a lot of division. And they said Bitcoin got hacked because that's how the news portrayed it, is Bitcoin got hacked. I think that that's the common thing, is that the news and that the people who are the educators, the people who have the most power to educate people, don't empower those who actually know about the thing. Not enough people are exposed to people within the actual crypto industry. They're exposed to people that are talking about a thing that they haven't experienced. Once that level of exposure changes, especially within our community, where the people who are actually in the thing, but people oftentimes, people who are actually doing the thing are busy doing the thing and aren't the ones sitting on social media promoting it or this and that. So I'm glad that you're
That's true.
actually out here because you're talking about finance from the perspective of one of the most successful Black financial minds in the country, while a lot of other people have been educating people about something that they don't have your level of experience about.
Yeah. Then that's very true. So from like a gaming standpoint, because we are gamers, um, what do you think the future of gaming when it comes to NFTs? Like people are going to be able to kind of bet each other and gamble using NFTs. Like I think the gaming space is a lot more adaptive to crypto and NFTs than like the general public. So what kind of mesh you think is going to happen there?
Sadly, gamers are some of the gamers, though they could benefit the most from crypto, are some of the most against crypto, period. Discord
Really?
actually, Discord was about to add Web3 about a year and some change ago, and the gamers that utilize it they went into an uproar. No, don't utilize Web3 because they're getting the same misinformation as everybody else. And they
Mm,
haven't actually experienced what can happen when you're involved in this market. They haven't had their lives change through this thing. But the way that things will be used within games is all of those assets, and this is why gamers should be excited about this, is all those assets when you earn. One of the first examples of an NFT was, let's say you earn a sword in a game that you have to beat all these levels from, and another person can't beat those levels. Well, now you can sell them that sword. They're already selling skins and things within all of these games. NFTs are perfect for that. There was a company that actually tried to engage with me early, and I didn't engage. They were worth $500 million a couple months later, called Parallel, and they're building out a gaming environment. But once those two worlds coalesce of great games and NFTs, then gamers will actually be able to gain value from the time they spend in game outside of streaming and things like that.
And we had a blockchain game featured, on the podcast, a few weeks ago. Michael's game is both a great game, and he's going to integrate the NFT technology into it. So yeah, I see that potential. And as you mentioned, Israel, we've had that functionality in the larger gaming space, not tied to NFTs for decades, right? The auction house in Diablo, or skins for CS:GO. We know that those digital assets have value outside of the game. But we've also seen things, on the other side of that argument. You've seen like trophies, right, attached to your PlayStation or Microsoft account. Those technically could be NFTs. And speaking from my own personal experience, like when I earn them, like I don't go check to see. And maybe I'm not. I know there are people who are those points enthusiasts who will, right? So there's something there for everyone, but there's different layers to it. But 100%, there's certainly value in digital assets having value outside the game, and we need to protect the integrity of those digital assets because we see items be duplicated all the time in various games.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that'd be the game changer, and in play to earn models and things like that, not just NFTs, but currencies and things like that. And so that we were talking before we went on air about AI and robots replacing a lot of jobs. UBI is going to be a big part of being able to make the world be able to grapple with that. But then all of the
What's
activities that we do.
what's explain to everybody what's UBI if they don't know.
UBI is universal basic income, basically maintaining a base standard of living, so that people don't feel the drastic effects of a changing economy that's happening right now. It's just not publicized. If you go to any major city right now, you go to Atlanta, you go to Miami, you go to LA, you see how many people are living on the sidewalk. That's not because they're all lazy. Something happens. Most Americans do not have $1,000 in the bank. 70% of people have a $400 crisis that could drive them into a tailspin. And creating a secure environment for the base of us will create a secure city for the rest of us. Any of us that, I'm a native of Southern California. Anybody living in LA knows how much more dangerous LA is right now. because of the poverty people are experiencing.
Yeah. And then my apologies. If it's any chats, y'all can definitely read them out. But the chats are not coming up on my way. So I remember a couple years ago, the presidential candidate Andrew Yang on the Democratic side, he was talking about it, and he got a lot of flack. It was like, oh, you're just throwing money at everybody. It's a government handout. We're gonna live on the government for years. But definitely, if people can't pay bills or people lose their job and their job is not there anymore, like what are they supposed to do?
So I was part of the Yang gang. I met Andrew a couple of times and everything like that. But the experiments, people didn't look at what actually happened with those experiments. What actually happened was people got educated, people picked up a hobby, and that's the thing. We keep on with the PPP loan and with the same thing every single time we give out money. In 2008 and 9, when we printed up the first 2 TARP bills, we gave the money to the wrong person. When you give money to a poor person, they end up doing what? Spending that money, which juices up the economy, which the money is going to travel back up anyways. So give it to as many poor people as they can. Really, I think that you should stop taxing people that can't make a living. Like right now, your bank account goes into an overdraft, and that person gets charged $35. They get $40 in transactions. The next thing you know, they owe $140 because they got that $35 4 times, and it's not sustainable and it's not helping any of us. So I would say, allow the poorest of people to have the means to be able to feed the economy so that the rest of us can continue to build wealth.
And shout out, we did have some folks tuning in live. So we'd love to give you all direct shout outs. Let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. We've got 10 folks joining us here on LinkedIn. So thank you all for joining us. If you have any questions for Mario or for Israel, send those in the chat. It's financial literacy here with the gamer's perspective. So let's get those questions in.
So to that point, Israel, like what company do you think, if it is UBI, what company or what sector of the economy you think that's going to profit the most?
So I think every sector is going to grow. It's just going to be a replacement of the labor. So there's going to be a shift away from labor. There aren't going to be people that mop floors anymore or serve pizzas. And a lot of the thought jobs are going to get changed pretty soon. So what we need to do is create a tax code that makes it so that companies that do not hire humans, that some type of semblance of what their human labor force would have paid for taxes, we tax the robots, we tax the AI, and this and that, and those companies pay a portion of those taxes. But I think it's up for every sector of the economy. Obviously, we're Americans, so the financial markets are where all of our value happens. We have one of the most largest and robust tech markets. I don't think that that's going to change. Markets that are culturally and creative, as we see right now in the music industry, more money is suddenly being made than ever. A lot of money will be made in film and other creative industries. People will continue to consume content and have more free time, recreational things, and health. Health will be very big, and the preservation of health. 13 years ago, I did a business plan, and I talked about how yoga and veganism would grow. And luxury streetwear, this brand was actually part of that business plan. And it said luxury streetwear, that's an oxymoron. And it actually happened over time that all of my estimations on the luxury streetwear market, on the yoga and everything, that just continues to go up. And I think the more time people have, the more they're going to put into themselves.
We got some folks tuning in. Shout out to Aziza from New York, Eugenia from California. Sean says tax robots. He's right there with you. For those of you who are in the chat, let us know, are you for or against crypto? You can say for crypto or against crypto. Again, we're just trying to get a read for the room. Again, a lot to learn tonight while we've got Israel just sharing all these gems.
Yeah, so Sean said tax the robots. So I want to go over a company that actually makes robots, robot vacuums, and that's iRobot. And it's crazy because we had the big run up in 2021, but since March of 2021, their stock is down by almost 80%. So literally, if you had $100 in iRobot, the company iRobot feels taxed right now because $100 is now $20. So from an investment standpoint, if you guys believe that more robots will be created, we're going to use more robots. From a video standpoint, chips are going to be cheaper, so the price of robots is going to be cheaper. iRobot might be a company to look into. If you guys like moving averages, as we can see, make it bigger.
I was just about to say the chart looks good. It looks like it's about to stretch. If these were Gerchick levels, I think it's at a support place
Yeah.
right now and everything like that. But the crazy thing is, human beings are the big thing about the stock. So who are the founders? How are they thinking? What are they talking about? And is their CEO, is their leadership changing? Are they going to get somebody young in there or revolutionary in there willing to move the needle and broaden their, there's two ways that a company can grow revenue. It can either expand and offer more products to the people currently buying their products, or it can upsell and downsell and serve other markets. And I would say expanding their range of products outside of those vacuums to other things. I would love to see what the leadership is thinking, because within crypto, I see millions and billions of dollars being thrown away because of a homogenous culture that lacks diversity of thought. Diversity of race is one thing, but diversity of thought is it's hindering our people.
So,
really bad.
So to that point, is like, what are they doing? So of course they're invested in something, and those investments aren't coming to fruition. So like, what are they doing exactly?
So that in crypto. In crypto, they're investing, so they're focused on lots of things are focused on engineers. We have a homogenous culture. If you go to any crypto event, you hear a whole bunch of techno music. They haven't hacked culture. They haven't expanded.
Hold on. And also, shout out to Zoran. So Zoran said robots mean intelligent automation, not necessarily physical robots. And you are 100% correct, Zoran. My bad.
Oh yeah. But I also mean physical robots.
Okay.
Look at what. Yeah. I also mean physical robots now are capable of doing every single physical labor job that we have. 3D printing technology, large scale 3D printers can build buildings, are building buildings, will build buildings. Autonomous vehicles, intelligent automation, but no, I'm talking about also physical robots replacing all their. There you go.
That video where there's a time lapse for like the last 15 years.
And remember it falling down and everything like that, or remember Osimo? Remember the first time we saw Osimo, and then what Osimo can do now? And so I'm talking about all of that. But what they're doing right now is, and this isn't just crypto. It's across the board. 90% of startups fail. 10% fail in their first year. This is because I'm writing a book right now. This is because of the metrics that they're using, the measurement that they're using. Black culture, by and large, has a failed metric. They're measuring people by the same standards of the system that created the suppression. And so we have this talented 10th. I was looking back earlier today on thinking about Marcus Garvey and W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington and these different ways. And it seems like the most successful of us have believed in that W. Du Bois thing. If we just get the most richest and wealthiest and most successful Black people together, then we can come up with ideas to make us more successful. But no, that just makes a longer 10% is proven over the last 100 years that that's not going to work. There's a TED, and so this is what is happening, really. There's a TED talk that talks about 3 people go into a room. One person gets 85% on a test. Another person gets 75% on a test. And another person gets 35% on the test. Now, common knowledge says take the person with the 85 and the 75. So everybody that goes through the school, goes through the metrics, can make a great resume, can do this and that, gets through the gates and gets in there. And they're throwing away that 35. But what if that 35%er had all the questions right that the other 2 got wrong? And those are the questions that you need to answer to make a successful company. I recently put in a resume for a job that I'm highly overqualified for. I'm a C-level agent. I can do anything. I walk through doors. I'm not a VIP at places. I am backstage. I am in the in crowd. And they're trying to it was a strategic for culture and entertainment or something like that. I'm deeply connected there. I'm capable of doing the job. The person who's an underling, and this happens to me, you go to Soho House or something like that, and somebody that gets paid $15 an hour to stand at a desk is telling you that you can't get in because you're not on the list. And that's
Yeah.
what's happening. Those are gatekeepers at these companies. If I talk to the CEO, if I had lunch, you had lunch with me, Mario. If you met me in an airport, the CEO of that company met me in an airport, had a conversation with me, I'd get the job
Right.
immediately because they'd be able to see that and understand that. The metrics and the gates that we have are stopping us from being successful. And that's happening in crypto. You have a homogenous culture, a bubble that people exist within. None of them know why they're failing because they're all the same. And none of them understand what the problems that they actually are facing are, and they're not empowering. They'll hire me as a community manager, or they'll hire me for marketing, or whatever the case may be, but they won't put me in a position to actually manage a budget. They'll label me a manager, a community manager. Managers manage budgets or people. Don't have me managing your social media without managing a budget. What you've just done is you've handicapped me. You cut me off at the knees and you asked me to play soccer. You know what I mean? And that's the reality. That's what's happening inside these companies. The reason that crypto is failing, and then beyond that, crypto is really failing because since 2017, the people who have been talking about it are looking at it through the wrong lens. They believe that this is a movement around getting more finance, making more dollars. I've been here since the beginning, since before Bitcoin was my third token experiment. This is not about making more dollars. This is about replacing the dollar and the legacy economy because we need an alternative because we are in a precariously dangerous situation as human beings. We can no longer grow society. Einstein said, or Winston Churchill said, we can't solve our problems with the same thinking that created them. And that's the hucklebuck that the economy is in. There is no way possible to solve poverty right now in the current economic system. The wealth gap will continue to grow.
Right.
So we need other options. And I think that that's by and large why crypto is failing, is because everybody's looking at it through the lens of how does it create more money, not how does it actually change society, which in turn creates more money, social capitalism, as it were. And that's what started being taught at schools like Harvard and Yale after 2007, but it still hasn't made its way into the market, except for a few billionaires that investments are long-term, like Shamel Palabataille or people like
Mike
that
Novogratz.
see.
Yeah. And so, so to that point, because you talked about Bitcoin a few times. So, like, when it comes to Bitcoin, right, we look at the chart. Now, I was a victim, right? So I bought Bitcoin back in like 2020 and like I think like 24. And as we could see, like it ran up. Scroll down, Mario, scroll down. But yeah, so Bitcoin ran up almost to be hold on. Deli, start again. Oh man, hold on. Somebody pinging me. Oh, you like me? Look, almost 500%, right? So Bitcoin ran up. So I didn't get out of Bitcoin though as it was going down. I didn't get out until like it was like at 40. So I still doubled my money, but like using investment charts, I could have got out a lot earlier because as we know, the drop of Bitcoin was tough. I mean, the drop, we're looking at a base of 80% drop. So now it's at 29,000. It's creeping back up. Where do you think Bitcoin will be in the next 3 years? You think it's going to be back to the 60 spot? Do you think it's going to hit the 100? I know. I think it was Goldman Sachs that said they think Bitcoin is going to actually be at 100 by the end of 2026. From the bottom, it's up by 100%. So, person bought it at 16. They're pretty happy right now. But what do you see Bitcoin over the next 5 years?
Yeah, if we're looking at it right now, we're up 50% year to date. We're up 30% year over year. So there are no losers except for those people. That goes back to what I talked about. There were people that were being advised by the wrong people to buy in the 60s. Me, I've been scared ever since it hit 20 again.
Really?
And I sound like that old man telling people like we're in unknown territory. And I'm telling everybody like, don't buy this. But you got these, but those people were actually empowered and given money by Cash App and given money and given a platform. And there are people with platforms and people that have been that are spreading misinformation because they don't live with this thing. And so I think that we'll go back to all-time highs, guaranteed. The math of it makes sense. Venezuela, El Salvador, and other places will take us higher. Economies that have broken down in the past are going to begin to secure themselves. And the most secure thing that they can possibly do is adopt the Bitcoin standard as a base layer of currency and attach that. Right now, there are stable coin backed cryptocurrencies that I think are that's really a silly thing. Like you're backing a cryptocurrency by the dollar. That's like, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, but leaders are the ones who explain crypto, and that's kind of like preachers explaining porn. You know what I mean? It just doesn't fit the ethos of the person, does not fit
Yeah.
the method, the model of what we're doing. So I think that's a problem. We will go to all-time highs. Will we go to 100? We go to all that. I'm not that person. I'm that person that's going to build things on top of this. I can say that we won't go back to zero ever again,
Right.
and that it is the only global currency that we have. It is the most successful currency in the history of man, period. There's never been a more successful experiment with economy than the Bitcoin experiment. And out
So wait, wait, so
20 years, I could say that we will be in a place that your life is going to be changed by your family owning one Bitcoin. Your whole family can live on.
so it so it's a huge debate right now between Bitcoin and ETH because of Web3. So when Web3 finally comes to fruition and people are using it, the exchange rates are lower, the gas, fees people talk about is going to be low or nothing at all. Do you think ETH is going to then be the gold standard, or you think Bitcoin will always be the gold standard for crypto standpoint?
I think Bitcoin is not just Bitcoin is the gold standard doesn't make sense anymore. I think the world should adopt can and should and will adopt the Bitcoin standard. I believe the Bitcoin standard is the best measurement of value and the math proves it over the last 15 years, 14 years, 2009, 14 years this year, 15 years in January. That there is no better measurement of wealth than the Bitcoin standard. And I believe that I see that Bitcoin is the global currency and it will continue to be that. ETH will have its utility and ETH is built, but there'll be other scaling systems. There'll be L2s on ETH and there'll be this and that. And the whole ecosystem has a tremendous, upside. But Bitcoin is the only, because of the math of it, the way it's built differently than Ethereum. And I don't think, and there is no date in the future that I foresee it being, and Ethereum isn't being collected by governments. It's not the same thing. It's not even, they're apples to oranges, but I don't think Bitcoin will ever be, I don't think Bitcoin at this point is a currency anymore. It's a store of value. And those who are proponents of Bitcoin maximalists that believe only Bitcoin should exist are short-sighted.
So let's ask the audience, all right? Everybody who's tuning in, are you for Bitcoin or are you for Ethereum? I think you make some great points there, Israel. And I also want to hear your thoughts on, we talked a little bit earlier about universal basic income. What are your thoughts on CBDCs? Because, and that's, I want you, from your perspective, to describe that to the audience. And then I guess ultimate question is like, how do we get to universal income without having CBDCs unless the government adopts Bitcoin?
Central bank digital currencies. Central banks are the reason.
Fed now,
So
it's here. Fed now, right?
Yeah. So you read the Bitcoin white paper, and you understand that it is not a financial document; it's a political document. The statement is in response to the failure of the economy, of the global economy, after the 2007. They call it the 2008 financial crisis, so they can throw it on Obama. That's the most illest thing. When I see that, I'm like, y'all are funny as hell. This happened in 2007. Yeah. The first TARP was drafted by Bush and pushed through by Bush, and Obama inherited that problem. And y'all call it the 2008 financial crisis. You know what I mean? But the 2007 financial crisis caused a response that for people. So the reason I discovered Bitcoin so early on is I was in chats with people who are gold and silver anarchists, people that kind of saw, like, we understood. I'm a political scientist. I understand exactly how the economy works, exactly how the dollar works. And so that causes fear. If the common person understood how dollars work, they would not trust dollars. Even the wealthiest, every book on wealth says, pay yourself first. What's that actually saying? Get rid of your dollars and put it in something else, because your dollar is going to lose you money. And so central bank digital currencies only reinvent the same problem. I think the problem is caused by the ability of these central banking entities to print money at will and have monopolies. Now, that a caveat to that, if and when, or at times when countries like China, where the central bank is actually part of the government, oh, that's a whole different monster. If tomorrow the Federal Reserve was actually part of the United States, which a lot of people don't understand that, if the United States actually was part of the United States and didn't exist in a district outside of the United States, suddenly we would be in a different position and I'd be on a different side, because our government and our people would be controlling our currency and will be the beneficiaries of our currency. But currently, that is not the reality, even though most people believe that's a reality. A lot of people still think dollars are backed by gold and think that the Federal Reserve is part of the United States government, but the Federal Reserve is actually a bank. And that's silly to have a bank have a monopoly on the ability to print up your money, and then you have to pay back that loan with interest. And we have a debt crisis, a debt ceiling that we continue to have conversations about, created by this never-ending system. We are your income tax. You believe that your income tax goes to fill roads and things like that. No. And your income tax is unconstitutional. Go read the Federalist Papers and go back to why the Revolutionary War was fought. You should never have your income tax, period. But beyond that, your income tax only goes to pay back the interest on the debt that is accumulated because of the dollar. And we can only pay back so much of that, and it continues to compound. So imagine, like, people, when you have a mortgage and your mortgage is amortized and your mortgage goes up every single day, imagine how inescapable that situation is for most people. And that's the same thing that America's in right now.
So we got some saying Bitcoin, some Ethereum, but one of the LinkedIn users said, I'm for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. We moved from exchanging seashells as a currency to exchanging coins. Eventually moved to coins and paper bills and cryptocurrency as the main crypto, only a generation away. So definitely true.
Yeah.
True. And you think about gold, right? So people say gold is like a hedge against inflation. Inflation goes up, but the value of gold is not going up with inflation. So how is gold? So I have clients that
Gold is a hedge. Gold is a hedge because it maintains value over time. 1,000 years ago, you could buy roughly the same amount of wheat with an ounce of gold as you can buy today. 1,000 years ago, you could buy a nice toga or whatever suit you wanted in any country. And now for about the same price of an ounce of gold, you can buy a nice suit. So gold is they're able to hold value, but it's not so that's the hedge.
Yeah. So to that point, right? So if I go to the store in Rome 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago and buy a toga, or I buy that land in Rome instead, that land is worth way more than that piece of gold, right? So yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, yeah. It's definitely, yeah, I wouldn't compare. Yeah, definitely you got a point there. You got a point there. You know what I mean? You got a point there. But also too, here's another thing is, and this is why I'm a proponent of Bitcoin as well. Your economy stabilizes, destabilizes, you have to flee to another place. You're more likely to be able to take that gold. But then with Bitcoin, you can have each of your four kids memorize four numbers, and they can take that somewhere else and anywhere else, and you can access millions of dollars. And imagine the Jewish people fleeing Germany having the ability to do that, or rather than lose and leave everything. And that's happening all around the world constantly.
So that is true. That's cool. With Bitcoin, you can take it anywhere. Now it's you got to make sure you protect your wallet though, right? And so let's talk about that, right? So for me, I have six coins, but they're not on like a soft or hard wallet. I have them spread out between like and Robinhood and some of the other kind of holding Coinbase. So what's your thought process between a soft wallet, a hard wallet? Are you afraid that some of the exchanges might take your money, like has happened before in years ago? Like, what is your thought process around that when it comes to holding cryptocurrency?
Not your keys, not your wallet. Right?
The saying is not your keys, not your crypto.
Not your keys, not your wallet.
Yeah.
The thing is saying not your keys, not your crypto. Secondly, I would say Robinhood is not selling you crypto. They're selling you exposure to crypto. So anything that you're having there, I would say immediately get that away from there. Coinbase is a little bit safer. Coinbase is the standard of this, and but then as we even see, Coinbase actually moved to Bermuda, and then Coinbase got attacked by the SEC, and there's still that danger that agencies give exposure to those things, and if anything goes bad with legislation, you lose access to your money. So the safest thing is to have it in a cold wallet, things like that. That could be a hard drive that's not attached to the internet or anything like that. But Coinbase is a reasonably safe place. It's secure, and there's a lot of major entities that have their money there. But the crazy thing is, if it goes bad, they're going to get their money back, and the average consumer and holder isn't.
Exactly. Yeah,
But I
right.
really like what that lead user said. That's kind of the way that I see it. And it took 300 years to adopt paper money. And so just imagine how far we've come in 15 years with cryptocurrency and where we will be at in 30 years or 300 years. I don't think that there's any other alternative than this.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't. Those are 300 years it took us to accept paper bills, and now we're on 15 years of crypto. So 15 years from now, you think that it's going to be adopted globally? Like how many more years we have where people adopted people that's 80 or now they're 65, now they're 80, they adopted it. People that's 5 now is 20 that's really starting to get to the money, they're adopting as well. Like when will that happen? You think years wise?
It's happening in certain places right now. I believe that there's a the KGB came here, and they met with Henry Kissinger in the 60s during the Nixon administration, and they went around, they talked to black people, white people, garbage men, rich people, this and that. And they said, how do you get all your people to say the same thing? So I think that the dangerous thing, I think that we're in the most danger here because of the group thought around the thing, and our belief in the stability of our system leaves us and leaves the capability for us to be victims of our lack of realization of the fragility of the global economy, our attachment to it, our attachment to banks. And so I don't know when adoption happens here because of the mass mindset and certain commonalities, but definitely in certain countries with unstable economies that already are aware of the fallacy and don't trust in their governments and don't trust in their banks, and the Pakistans and all these different places, the Indias, oh, that's going to happen in a generation. Once the old people die, it's going to happen.
Man, you spin out this game. So I'm here in Atlanta at InvestFest on the balcony of the Hyatt downtown, which is pretty cool. Y'all can see behind me. But tomorrow this VIP event, I'm gonna be chit chat with 19 Keys. So I gotta find a way to position myself to put you on high level conversation with him, man, because you spend a lot of game that the masses should definitely hear.
19 know me. Tell him you had Israel on your podcast yesterday.
Okay, I will.
I got his number in my phone. He hit me up a couple years ago to start a DAO. Yeah. But I'm the progenitive voice of the current method of Web3.
Yeah.
I led the early conversations. I coined the term OG. I coined the term friends. I'm edgy, I'm edgy, and that's not, people don't pick up things with sharp edges.
Hold on, wait, because we glossed about something, right? So we all probably heard about like the scam that's going on with DJ Envy, right? So they did like a flip 2 DAO where they combined real estate and crypto, and like it blew up in their face. Is that something that you can really do in a DAO, or is that just kind of a pipe dream?
Oh man, look. So I know Caesar too. I got his phone number in my thing too. So like that's what I'm saying. Like that's why it's really weird when companies don't engage me. I'm in the mix. People already know me. I'm able to go anywhere, do anything. If I was given to me, there's 3 great things that 19 Keys said this recently. He said an African billionaire told him there's 3 things that a man needs to do amazing things. It's skills and talent, resources, and a network. I've got 2 of those in a large scale. And once I have an investor that invests in the resource, I'm just waiting for that one conversation with somebody like the Google guys. The Google guys went all around Silicon Valley. They got shot down by every major fund. And then they met with the old man. He gave them $100,000, didn't understand their idea, and he made $3 billion. I'm just waiting to meet my old man. But yeah, no, that was, so as far as the Caesar and Envy thing goes, they didn't understand they didn't understand crypto, and they're not talking to the right people. And it's very rare that you get somebody with my level of experience that actually can talk about the technological part of it, the financial part of it, the social ramifications of it, and then execute on the realization of a vision within this market. There, because lots of people are still studying and searching and trying to figure out how to execute, and they don't warn people because they see it as a way to get money. This is not a way, this is not a new way to access capital. That's called a scam. This is the crystallization of value. Bitcoin started out at zero. How do we start something that's worth nothing and create enough value to make it worth something? And that is what they need to be doing. But the tokenization of real estate, we still don't have. Oh my God, I froze up.
We can hear you still.
Yeah, see that they
powers that be don't want you to say this, I guess.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah,
now you're good.
So
you hit the buzzword, but you're good. You're back.
Yeah, the tokenization of real estate is something that's really going to be interesting, but it hasn't happened yet. And the people who are executing on all of these different things don't have teams of people directly involved in the industry. And since it is a burgeoning industry, people are able to pass themselves off as experts. Or when it becomes a pop term, people go and learn about it, and then they learn. And this is the problem. This is what I was saying. 90% of startups fail because and most companies have 60% ineffective workforce because the people who can manipulate, the people who can present well, the people who are willing to put polish on it or calm themselves down or kiss their asses too big enough can manipulate people through ego and things like that and get closer to things. I know, look, you've been in finance for a while, Mario. You remember the era when suddenly there was a whole bunch of Forex experts.
Yes.
All the
yes.
And they're selling everybody a course on Forex and da 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 da.
Yeah.
But Forex, and it's crazy because it's at the end of the cycle when Forex was actually making people successful. That's when the people come in, they push the people on something. So I just think that it's just lack of execution and the other things that they were doing and the way in which they were manipulating people. And they took a lot of money from different communities. Anybody that's trying to sell you, if I have ability to create things that are worth $1 billion, why would I be selling you something for a couple $1,000s? Like, think about that. Think about that. If a person actually has a methodology of growing money in Forex or in real estate, why aren't they primarily focused on growing their money in Forex and real estate? They're selling you something. Sometimes it's because of the volatility of their market. They win and they lose in real estate, but they can scale their income of teaching you and educating you something. But it's very rarely that they have the knowledge or are willing to part ways with the insider knowledge that they have that's really necessary to help you grow. So that's why I was so trepidatious about ever selling anything or selling information. A great example of that is with ICGNU. We launched our company. We launched our community 7 days ago. In 7 days, we've got 52 members. The first 111 members will be free. The next 1,000 members will pay $11.11 a month. And the price will never go more than $1 a day. The price will cap out at $33. And I'll never sell somebody something that's thousands of dollars unless it's to pay for your room or pay for a mansion or pay for a trip or pay for something else like that. I'm not going to sell you information because I'm about to make billions of dollars off of what I know how to do, which is build things. I'm really an AI expert. I'm really a crypto expert, and I don't need to sell you anything.
So I know, we definitely talked about the company a few months ago. So tell the public about the company, what you're doing in the space.
So my focus is basically, the overall thesis is that that culture is more influential than ever. And we see that, especially African-American culture is the most influential culture in the history of the world. Technology is more powerful than ever. And there's a disconnect between the two. And the technology companies are unable to leverage the culture in the way that 19 Keys has been able to. And the culture is unable to leverage the technology because they don't have that direct connection within the technology. So creating that bridge and then focusing on, and my thesis is my life's focus is creating environments in which all types of genius can thrive. And I talked a little bit about my thesis earlier. I feel like we're missing these amazing people. ICGNU means I see God in you. It also means I constantly gain new understanding. And I started this 18 years ago during Katrina. I was extremely upset and I couldn't do anything about it. I saw the news blasting these people, and these 5 letters kept running through my head, ICGNU, that made a sentence. And I see God in you. I see the potential in people, and I see the potential of the least of us. And I treat a waiter or a janitor. I go to events, VIP events, and people always laugh at me because they know I'm going to end up sitting there and talking to the bartender or the security guard or this and that. I don't need to, I'm not sitting around here networking or anything like that. I don't need to try to figure out how to make any connections. I got all the connections. But I'm really interested in what this dude that's doing the door is talking about, or I'm that humility. So that's my thing is, I think that that's an untapped market. I know that it's an untapped market. I know that there's untapped potential in the masses. I see the failure rates of companies, and I want to change that. And I'm leveraging emerging technologies to do that. So utilizing crypto to create upward social mobility, utilizing AI to fill gaps. The most recent venture that we started is called Co-Found AI, and I'm writing a book about bootstrapping your startup with AI. I'm going to pair that with free access to the platform. I've got the community is going to get alpha and beta access to the platform. And now you want to start an idea, but you don't have all that. You know how much it takes to be a CEO? You know what little bits of knowledge it takes to be a CTO? You know how many people fail because they don't have those right teammates, that right CFO in their corner? And so creating these AI personas that can fill those gaps, and then focusing on those people who other people don't focus on, and giving them ways to easily access this, and then building out brands around that. So we have 7 core areas that we're initially focused on. And I call these like basically the pillars of culture. And it started out with 4: music, fashion, film, sports, and then education, wellness, and ESG, which and ESG actually contains real estate, because building sustainable ways and environmentally conscious ways to create real estate. And all of these things have different crossovers. In every film, you're going to hear music. At every sports event, you're going to hear music. Athletes have an effect on culture and can leverage their personas to get more attention to a film or music. Right now, we're watching. I've seen so many companies be able to raise because they got an NBA player that nobody ever heard about as one of their backers, and suddenly able to get into these rooms and things like that. And I see so many ex players work in these rooms because people want to be close to that. So leveraging that culture. So we're focusing on those areas, and we're not trying to build those companies. I don't want to build everything. I want to be picks and shovels and be the builder, and eventually launch a fund, a small stage fund that gives people that first $10,000, and then doesn't focus on software as a service, but outcome as a service, actually leveraging our knowledge, our information, our networks. Imagine what just the 3 of us could do for a Black gaming company if we were to come in. We gave them a little bit of capital so they could, eat some cereal, stay in their apartment, smoke some weed or whatever they want to do, sit there and do what you do, brother. And we're going to focus, and we're going to bring the resources to you. Just build. Imagine, and then when they build, finding a market. Well, I can easily access and tap into millions of people because I'm not an influencer. I'm influential. I influence influencers. I know the influencers. I can go in and then once I can get them through those early stages. So we getting capital, as a person who's in that stage right now, getting capital in the angel stage and in the pre-seed stage is extremely hard.
Yeah.
Once you got a little bit of traction and you're at the seed stage, it becomes easier. Once you're in your A round, I have 100 places that I can go and get somebody 10 million, $70 million from. I know funds that don't write anything less than $7 million checks, but you got to be in your A round. You've got to reach the point of traction. Traction speaks volumes. How much revenue are you making? How is your revenue scaling? How are you going to utilize this money to scale more revenue? Do you have a blue ocean opportunity? And that's what I kind of help people work through, is crafting that opportunity in such a way that it becomes more. So and now that's what I've been doing is, first I did business development and I scaled brick and mortar businesses and everything from fitness to restaurants. Then I went into cryptocurrency and technology company. I advised them, became extremely frustrated when you see the failure of NFTs. I saw people that had millions of dollars that weren't listening to the person in the room who knew the most, about what they were talking about. They hired me because I knew the most, but they weren't willing to apply my information. Then I went to advise startups and found that even when donating my time, a founder won't necessarily listen to you unless you're an investor or this and that. And so I'm stepping into the founder's seat so that I can create fertile ground for people to plant their seeds. And the initial part of that is creating a community, ICGNU, the ICGNU collective. But then I just put in the skills, put in the different things, put in the resources, and just foster that environment. And then there's going to be those stars that come out, and then we just help them cross the finish line. And with the fund, I'm looking at writing checks for $10,000 pre-product, $20,000 post-product, $50,000 if they can show us something that's scalable. So we're $80,000 all in, only $80,000 all in, but we're adding our IP. We're taking other pieces of equity as advisors. Then we're taking those people to our syndicate to raise the rest of the next stage of money. And we're doing lower exits because of our low investment. We can create liquidity opportunities, merger and acquisition opportunities in the $20 million range instead of in the $100 million range, and still 100x our money.
Yeah.
And then we reinvest through our fund and spread globally and do other things because there's so much talent in Africa and in the islands and all over the place. So
yeah. Now we got a couple chats. So back to crypto. I'm good with soft wallets and hard/cold wallets. Crypto and exchanges should be play money. So understand that. Ariza, I'm from crypto, but we just need to establish the exchange system for goods and services. Another person linked in. Yes, it's important that tech needs to be taught in communities of color. That way we have a chair at the table because we are creating the table and chairs while building a power team. So nah, definitely true.
Aziza spoke to my heart, sis. I love you. It spoke exactly to my heart. I used to pay my barber in Bitcoin. One day he came in when Bitcoin was $230. I was paying my barber every week in Bitcoin. About 4 weeks in, his wife said, "You can't pay our rent with Bitcoin." Later on, he looks at that, and each of those haircuts were $5,000 haircuts, $2,000 haircuts. Imagine if everybody was getting a haircut and he could have just put that money to the side. It wouldn't have hurt him. It wasn't a loss. It wasn't anything like that. He would have, and it would have been. I used to buy my daughter, and I was a person that lived off of crypto for a long time. I bought my daughter a dollhouse for 2 Bitcoin, and I watched in 2017 that dollhouse was broken down, and I'm looking at this $40,000 dollhouse. I used to take her to the movies every week for half a Bitcoin. But I went to the AME. I went to the NAACP because my friend Cornell Williams Brooks became the head of the NAACP. He used to be a head of the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. I went to the Nation of Islam. I talked to every single leader that I possibly could at the time in the Black community about us, the people who should be the most aware that that we need another economy, and getting them in the system, pre-regulation, pre any rules. It was the wild, wild west. We could have created our own currency. We would have did whatever we wanted, and nobody could really hear me because I started the conversation wrong. I told them that a dollar didn't have any value, and that triggers something called cognitive dissonance. When you've been taught, socialization is, if I tell a person that this case is blue, this case is blue, this case is blue, 1,000 people can tell them that this case is neon green, and they will never believe it because they've been taught, they've been socialized. Yeah. It's deeper than brainwashing. The reality to most people is that the dollar is valuable, and they can't come to any grips with the fact that that's a lie.
That's cool. Well, man, this has been amazing. If I could talk conversation, we'll want to keep you all night. So is any final thoughts that you want to give, information in the chat as well? But any extra information you want to give?
No, thank you for the opportunity. I get 2 podcasts in one day. Seems like there's something happening, something in the air, and that was completely unplanned. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. This was really a great conversation, great questions. If anybody, I have 100 until we get to 111. This thing is free for life. The ICGNU Collective. If you're on here watching, DM me. I'll send you the invite link. We'll continue to build resources. All that I ask is that you audit the courses, audit the community, tell me how to improve the community so that I can create more value around it. My name is Israel S. Wilson on all social medias. Israel Wilson on LinkedIn, and yeah, I look forward to this. I look forward to talking with everybody. I'm very accessible. Don't put me on any type of pedestal. Don't think of me as any different than you. We didn't even get into my background, but I promise you, whatever you've been through in life, I've been there. I went through it all. I'm on the other side. I got a lot of experiences, and that's really where my passion lies, is in helping people that have experienced a lot. Also, I'm looking for allies that have, but especially Black allies. No disrespect to anybody else. Anybody else that wants to come in and be an ally, great. I got a diverse organization already in my community, but I'm looking for Black allies from adverse backgrounds that have achieved success, so that we can be examples of leadership and allowing people to, create access. And if anybody wants to do that and volunteer, for free, that's what I want to give. I want to give people access to information to be free. They say the game is to be sold, not to be told. I think that's information should be free, shared freely, and the value that you get from that is the ability to do things. Everything that I ever did that made me money started out with an action that I did for free. And thank you for lunch, man. You paid for my last lunch with you, Mario. So I'm glad I
Yeah.
met Mario randomly in the airport one day, and we had a great conversation. So I look forward to that. I look forward to continuing this, and hopefully we can work together on something someday.
Of course, of course.
That's what's up. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I appreciate, and I'm thrilled about the work that you're doing, Israel, because I don't know if you've seen that report that I believe it's 2050. It's projected that the average Black American wealth will fall to $0. So, less than 30 years from now, in a generation or
Yeah.
so. So it's so important that you're doing the work you're doing, especially as being in the crypto space as long as you have. There's not a lot of space for the Black community there on the wealth generation side. Not that we can't have our own space, but if you look at the space today, it's gatekeeping, just as you described, right?
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad because our community has one fatal flaw. We follow people who we like, or who are able to this and that. We don't follow necessarily authorities. And so a lot of our leadership, especially around these things, are people that are really good at media and things like that. And there's some guy that went to Howard and then went to Harvard and got his PhD, that necessarily he may have a stutter, but he's the guy that actually knows the computer science or the wealth or whatever the case may be. There's another statistic before we leave that I think is important as well. It said if it doesn't go to zero and we stay at the same rate that we're going and grow at the same rate, it'll take us 240 years to catch up to our white counterparts in this country. Um, and and we've got to battle that from a myriad of ways, from insurance to stocks. And that's another thing is the most money is made in the stock market, but what they don't tell you is that it's not made for the public investor. It's made when a company goes public. The first shares of Coinbase were 0.0005 cents. When I come in, there's an article called an 83B. When I come into a company and I start to advise them, I pay about $20 for 100,000 or 250,000 shares, or whatever the case may be, and take that gamble and ride along with them. And at the point that the company goes public or has a liquidity event, that money explodes. And so the friends and family round and supporting early stage founders is just as pivotal as being in a crypto before it launches or anything else in creating this wealth. Each and every person in this conversation can be an angel investor in their cousin if they learn the process of incorporating in Delaware, Wyoming. Delaware is great, the best place, but Wyoming, Nevada, or whatever the case may be, or Bermuda or someplace else, if you're doing something more in a gray area, investing in early, giving them the money to start, you know, giving them the money to start their thing, and then feel that win. So support the people around you and believe in the people that are smartest in your family. And every family should have a doctor, a lawyer, and a financial advisor, and believe in the people that are close to you. That's where your answers are. That's why they coined the term friends. Because when they asked me how they could do crypto or what they should do, I'd say do things with your friends. And I say it without a D. So they made the term like that. But yeah, so that's what I would say. You know, we all got opportunities. So believe in the people around you and support everybody, support each other. That's the key. That's the thing we're missing. We're looking up instead of looking to the people on the side of us, and we're missing out on some really great opportunities.
Amazing, man. Thank you for those gems. Before we leave, if you'll do the honor and pick the winner of the digital copy of the Relax Investor book, and I have my own book as well. You have a copy with you, Mario? You didn't? I'm sure you brought some with you to InvestFest.
Yeah, they're not here. They're downstairs. But yeah.
Okay. So
I would say Aziza. I would say
I'll
Aziza for that comment.
I'll send you a digital copy as well, Israel. Thank you for being a guest on the show. But we want you to pick somebody who had just compelling comments or questions you like, and they'll get a digital copy of both of our books.
Well, Aziza, definitely. That's the thing. That's the reality. She said it in a nutshell. Everybody's looking at crypto as a way to make money, and it's not. It's the crystallization. Tokenization is the crystallization of value, and we need to begin to create exchange systems within our community for services. Right now, while Bitcoin is down, right now Bitcoin is up 50% on the year. If you had started getting paid in Bitcoin and paying people in Bitcoin at the beginning of this year, you'd have 50% more on your savings than ever. And then we need to force our landlords, our store owners, and other people to accept it. You walk into a store, everybody do me a favor, walk into a store, ask them if they accept crypto, and then if they don't, walk out. Do it like that. Start forcing these people to start making some decisions that move the neighborhood. Because we remember the days when most places didn't accept credit cards. We remember when they most didn't accept Cash App when it first came out and everything like that. I used to pay people $5 a person to sign up for Cash App, $20 a person to sign up for PayPal. Nobody wanted to. Eventually, it became the norm. So I would say that let's make this the norm rather than the exception. But thank you, Aziza, for that comment. It really is. That's the solution right there to solve that 240 and that near to zero wealth gap. So we're not all the way dependent. And dollars have their use. And I'm not averse to the dollar economy, but we need some other safety net.
Dope. So thank you again for your time. Mario, can you let everybody know where they can find you? I mean, besides the site you see at the bottom here, bit.ly/levelupyourwealth, but let them know where they can find you, Mario.
Yeah, the site, Relax Investor, relaxinvestor.com, or our business website, Tones Financial, or just Google Painful Profits or Google Relax Investor. You'll find me, and definitely here to help.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you again next week for episode 10. We're joined by Emmy Award-winning game developer Don Daglow. Tons of insights. He's been in the industry 4 decades. Lots of stuff to talk about. But thanks again for your support this week and every week. We'll see you next week where you can continue to learn how to love your wealth. We'll see you later. Peace.
Peace.